So today on the Zach and Mac Show, we have a very special guest. We have Cat Blackard, a producer for the Nerdy Show, one of the longest running podcasts of its genre. Also a business mogul, starting her company Omniverse in 2019, and then finally my new favorite. Hopefully, it'll be Zach's new favorite soon.
Yeah, he hasn't let me listen yet because I haven't been able to get off work.
The Call of Cthulhu mystery program, which can be listened to on Spotify, the Omniverse, and we should have some links somewheres here.
Literally everywhere you can get podcasts, you can get the Call of
On
Cthulhu
Spotify,
mystery program.
Like, comment, subscribe, Spotify.
Ring that bell.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
Spotify.
Well, Miss Cat Blackard, welcome to the Zach and Mac Show. Thank you for taking a little bit of time to be with us today.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Mac. Pleasure to be here.
So we wanted to ask on behalf of our viewers, what exactly is a tabletop audio drama?
Well, folks may have heard of actual play podcasts, and that's where people just play tabletop role playing. And I say just only to mean that, like, simply it can be as easy as you set up a microphone on the table and everyone just plays. But it is, in fact, a genre that has a pretty wide scope and quality. And what we aim to do is to take the narrative storytelling of tabletop role playing and to create and cultivate an audio listening, like, storytelling experience that is purely for the purpose of being listened to in that way. So in the case of my programs, we'll add cinematic sound design and original score and build out this whole fully fleshed out narrative. In some cases, we will add in scenes that didn't take place at the table. If we're like listening to, we're like, oh, we could use some more character development here. We'll punch it up. So the Call of Cthulhu mystery program, my series, is probably the most complicated one out there that does that punching up work. I've been doing tabletop role playing shows since 2009, and in that time, we've evolved from being pure actual play to jazzing it up with sound effects to hiring a composer to do original score. And then eventually that mutated into series 2 of the Call of Cthulhu mystery program, which is thus so far the pinnacle of what we do.
Oh, that's so exciting! Like I said, when I listened to the small snippet before the interview, I'm really excited. Like, it was really good, and that was just them eating chips and talking to one another.
We're in the store right now, and I was had a few customers, and I'm kind of calling around because I need his help. Mac, and I see him in his little headphones, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And he was like, all giddy on his computer, and I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I was really excited because you guys have really great chemistry, and you're right. The music score, you had a narrator. It was really something very different from what I'm used to. So for someone who plays tabletop games and things like that, how different is it to prepare for a tabletop audio drama versus preparing for just playing a game?
Well, it's very different because, if you're playing a tabletop game, you generally think like, okay, who are the friends who I want to play with? Like, how do I want to interact with them? This isn't too dissimilar, except that everything you're doing has the end goal of this is going to be something that other people are going to listen to. So you have to be able to trust people to be, if you're doing a long campaign, you have to trust them to be consistent. You have to trust people to bring full-scale performances. Like, when we perform, I insist that everybody's in character all the time. Like, when you're talking to the game master, you're still in character. So there's this kind of blur that happens where you're not getting constantly taken out of it. You can still have technical conversations about like what a dice roll is doing, what the action is, without the audience being like, wait, who's talking now? Because they were a cowboy just a moment ago, and now they're not. They're always a cowboy, and that way the characters is even coming out when they're interacting with the game master. It creates that full-scale immersion the whole time.
Oh, that's really
interesting. And for my part, I cast people. It's actually really difficult because I'm trusting people to do a lot. It's not just that they're lots of like high octane actual play shows will pull in, like, say, actors and comedians, and that's all good and well, but those people, for all their talents, aren't necessarily good role players. And that can be, you know, pretty tricky. Like I have to do a significant amount of vetting to really like know who somebody is, to be able to be sure that they're going to be able to pull this off. And what's more, because we are a historical fiction audio drama, there's a bunch of other layers to this. If we were doing medieval fantasy, then it would kind of be like, maybe we'd have some rules about like, hey, we're not going to mix sci-fi in this. It is going to be pure fantasy, or like we're not going to deal with, let's say, magical creatures that are specific to like Wizards of the Coast copyright, something like that. But in this case, it's like, this is the real world in the 1920s. There you have all of like world culture to explore and play with. And we also want to be as accurate as possible. So while we can fix some stuff in post if it goes sideways, we do want to like be not just be accurate, because that can be a hindrance, but mostly to actually to be able to use that in a meaningful way. That's done in a way that is both realistic and then also very honest, and in a lot of cases offers opportunities to view our own modern day world through the lens of people who are not represented in the media of the time at all.
No, that's really inspiring, because like I've always wanted to break the mold of the traditional hobbyist, the traditional gamer. You know,
Yeah.
it's typically white cis male, kind of like socially inept or just crude. No culture, no education, except for the sci-fi or fantasy things that they do, and that's not the case. As in our shop, we've noticed that we have trans people, we have queer people, we have.
I'm not gonna lie. If I could, I thought you were talking about our shop. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, but like, I'm just saying, like,
I'm
just saying, like, we've been very blessed to have that in our store.
We have all
People
kind
of
of
color,
different people.
and like, it's not your traditional gamer. And I hate that stereotype that gamers are all like that.
I feel like we've cultivated a community more so than just a game shop.
But I love the fact that that's what she's aiming for with her program, is that,
awesome.
you know, that is very important. I really feel that that's extremely important.
And broadly in our experience, though, you know, the stereotype of that kind of gamer is like those are the gatekeepers. Those are the people who, from like the Simpsons comic book guy stereotype, like have been the people who decide that this culture is insular and is only for this kind of people. But the reality is, especially in the 21st century, that that's not even remotely true. And what we kind of need is that like the larger perspectives, like at this point, we need the reality of of diversity in gaming to actually be represented, and for that to be reflected, because in a large sense, that stereotype is holding a lot of things back while the audience is in fact moving it forward. And yet it persists.
Have you had any moments in the hobby itself how it maybe has led you on to something, especially like this, with your business?
I think that tabletop role playing is a integral tool for building people's capacity to tell stories and develop interpersonal communication with other human beings. That is really possible at the table in a powerful way, and it builds storytellers. Some of the greatest modern filmmakers all cut their teeth as young people, like at the tabletop in tabletop role playing, and that's a pretty remarkable thing, and it is extremely consistent. Like if you look at the right interviews, and you can see mention of it literally everywhere. So from my experience, I think that it's been really great in that way, though I was a late bloomer to tabletop. I did not, the first, you can listen to my first tabletop game ever, episode 1 of Dungeons and Doritos, this series that I started in 2009. But from there, that was actually like a really important landscape for cultivating things. Like I had a lot of interests, and the being able to create characters and performances surrounding those interests gave a platform for developing pieces of my self that didn't necessarily have a platform in my day-to-day life. For instance, when I started that game, I was assigned male at birth and was presenting as a heterosexual man, and the character who I performed as was a Dragonborn invoker in 4th edition D&D and a female, and that character became a safe space for me to explore femininity in ways that I didn't realize that I was doing. I was just like, no. Well, like we've got all these like kind of human-esque characters, so I want to be like a weird creature, and like all these other characters are male, so I'll play a female, and it's okay because I can do a hissy voice. So it's just, I can just do this dragon thing, and that's fine. And so I like effectively, not really realizing myself, hid behind that for years. But it was the first time I was female in public, and it felt really good.
That's really awesome. Like, I'm serious. Like that. I don't mean to be
Gushy.
It's just that's really beautiful. That's awesome.
That really is
that's really
amazing.
awesome. I really like that. I'm sorry.
Man's cry.
Yeah.
You need 5, buddy?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
you
good,
good?
bro. I'm good. But no, that was like that's what I'm talking about. Like the hobby can do so many really awesome, really powerful things, and it's not just a waste of time or like it's a positive place to put good energy. That's the thing about that I love about the hobby. Is like all different walks of life can have that positive energy flow into something that works, and it's like a beautiful metaphor for things.
I think out of the people who watch this, every single one of them is gonna relate to that experience.
Exactly.
Just because, like the biggest thing that stuck out to me is the reference of a safe space, because that's just something that everyone needs and deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really big thing. It was for me when I started playing.
So Zach here is our resident Cthulhu expert.
And I wouldn't say expert. I would not say expert.
Fanboy.
Fanboy's fair.
Lover.
Yeah.
But when you guys decided to go with the Call of Cthulhu mystery program, what was the impetus for that versus like something sci-fi or something more? I mean, you've done D&D, but like you could still stay in that realm of fantasy and
Besides
like swords and stuff like that.
Thing.
Yeah.
Besides
because like not everyone digs Call of Cthulhu like they do now, because now it's trendy and popular. They have a TV show, they have video games, they have all this other stuff. When you guys started this, it was something that was popular amongst a very niche group of people, and then you guys went with it, and it's big. It's so cool now. It's big. So what made you guys go into that? And then of course, Zach, please chime in on some Cthulhu questions, because I don't know anything other than Cthulhu is friends with Cartman, and that's it.
That's dubious information. Well, I've been reading H.P. Lovecraft stories since I was in high school. The poetic layers of that storytelling and the obscurity of how he painted horror, that was very influential to me as a creator. And then once Nerdy Show came around, like a decade later, that was still before Patreon existed. So we used to do support drives that basically people were pitching us systems and then voting on it. So like the first one was Paranoia XP, and the second one was Call of Cthulhu. And then Kickstarter got invented, so it was pretty superfluous after that. It was a whole different world then. So then we ran with it, but what happened differently with that is the nature of a Call of Cthulhu session is usually deep into investigation. So it was one of the longest recording sessions we'd ever done, or I think at that point in time it was the longest recording session for a single thing that we'd ever done. And we were like, oh, what do we do with this? How do we release this? Like, we might need to trim it down to like So then eventually I'm listening to the raw audio again, and I'm like, we have to do this as a series. We have to treat this like a detective-y kind of series where we follow all the breadcrumbs and can pace it out so people won't get bored with it. They'll be interested in the twists and turns. And if we're doing that, if we're actually making it that episodic and we're doing all this post-production for it, then we could stage it like a 1930s radio serial and have fake ads and stuff. And that's what we did. and it exploded. It became the biggest thing we'd ever done.
I know I'm definitely gonna start listening to your Cthulhu mystery program because it was so good, and I only got the intro. I'm
You got
like
the intro.
serious. It was so good.
Oh, there is a big thing happening, which I am very pleased to share now. This is extremely new news.
Ooh.
We've been silent through most of 2020 because this entire pandemic situation has completely upended our lives. Surprise. So we were on schedule to put Series 3 out this year, but that didn't happen. So in an effort to do something special, we've teamed up with Chaosium, the makers of the Call of Cthulhu, to put on a streaming event Friday the 13th, which is upcoming November 13th and 14th, 2 nights of live tabletop role playing done in the mystery program style with a cast of folks from the role playing and audio drama world. And it should be pretty fun. We're playing The Cracked and Crooked Manse, which is a campaign from their just released remastering of Mansions of Madness. And that's going to be at cthulhumystery.com/live. You'll find all the links you need to get there. And it is a charity event. We are going to be contributing to the Transgender Law Center. And we've gamified that whole experience so people who contribute can help people regain sanity or maybe even revive a player who has mysteriously died. We're still working out the logistics of how exactly we're going to alter time and space like that, but we'll make it work. And then also, thanks to Chaosium's sponsorship, we viewers have the opportunity to win digital and physical editions of Mansions of Madness.
Oh,
that's awesome.
wow, that's dope.
intense.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I gotta get all.
We're gonna watch it.
We are gonna watch it. Oh man. Miss Cat Blackard, once again, from Zach and I here at the Zach and Mac show, thank you so much for being a part of our show. We really, truly appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'll be back.
Okay, awesome.
Well, once again, guys, as you can see, Miss Blackard has tons of things going on, lots of content. Please go check out all the wonderful links that will be here and maybe here and here. But definitely check those things out and sponsor them on their Patreon. Support this. It's very worthwhile, and it is absolutely everything good about gaming. And I couldn't be more proud of our hobby.